we're going to look at essentially an EFAP debate between Glib and Stitch and Rick Warley and Anomaly. So, what are the sides of the debate? Okay, essentially in this debate, Glib and Stitch are going to be arguing that the prequels are badly written, and Anomaly and Rick are going to argue the opposite, that the prequels are well written. So they do concentrate mainly on the Phantom Menace, but they bring in some of the other prequels, but the focus was on Phantom Menace. Now, in this one, we're going to get into a very, very dry issue about the Force and the prophecy regarding Anakin. So apologies if the subject gets a little dry, but it's very, very complicated. So we're going to listen to both sides go back, and then we're going to try to respond to try to make the prophecy as cohesive as possible.
They say the prophecy is that he will bring balance to the Force. Okay. And then that's later expounded upon in Revenge of the Sith, where he says he will destroy the Sith and bring balance to the Force. So my first question is, how does destroying the Sith bring balance to the Force? That would literally be the opposite of bringing balance to the Force.
Right. That's the point. Is that
vanquishing the dark side.
The Jedi must
it was Disney that retconned it. It's Disney that retconned it to say there must be equal dark and equal light.
No, I'm asking, okay, do you know the word balance means that there's equal forces on both sides? That's literally what the word balance means.
That's the point, is that when Yoda says that the prophecy could have been misread, the Jedi assume, when the Jedi here bring balance to the Force, the Jedi assume, oh, that means we're going to get rid of the bad guys. What the prophecy actually means, Anakin brings balance to the Force by helping to kill all the Jedi. At the end of at the end of Revenge of the Sith, there's balance in the Force because there's 2 Sith, and basically there's a couple Sith left and a couple Jedi left. So Anakin actually did it, but he did it by killing the Jedi. The Jedi just never thought that could be what it was. The Jedi never thought the prophecy could mean that there's too many of us and a lot of us need to go.
Okay, so your argument is that all the Jedi for the 3 movies were all just completely wrong with their interpretation of the prophecy regarding Anakin. That their interpretation that destroy the Sith was not balance of the Force. It was just literally what you said, that he's going to kill all the Jedi and there's only going to be 2 Jedi and 2 Sith. That's your argument.
Yeah, the Jedi think that balance means that they have all the power, which is balance.
So then why does George Lucas literally say the exact opposite? He says Anakin does fulfill the prophecy because he kills Palpatine and himself, thus destroying the Sith.
Okay, cool. So what's your problem then? Like, if he fulfills
prophecy because you're arguing both sides of the point. You're saying, well, wait a minute. He brought balance because the Jedi were wrong. He wasn't supposed to kill the Sith. He was supposed to kill the Jedi to bring balance. But then George Lucas literally says, no, he kills all the Sith, thus bringing balance. Even though at the end of the originals, he doesn't bring balance because Luke is alive and there's no Sith.
Back, I never made the argument that destroying the Jedi. That was Rick's argument, actually.
I know, but I'm talking to Rick.
I thought. Okay, fair.
Well, before maybe we need to get to the foundational issue of this point, which is, what does bringing balance to the Force mean? What does the Force look like?
Can we even be definitive about that, or can we only infer?
Well, we can only work on what characters tell us, right?
Well, I mean, the prophet, Anakin does kill like himself and the Sith, and there's no more Sith left, and it's only Luke. So I think it's definitive that bring balance means vanquish the Sith. At least pertaining to
you and Rick can argue because you're both saying the opposite things. I don't know.
We don't agree on everything, me and Rick.
Okay, but so what's the position here?
Well,
I think that it's reasonable to have a lot of different interpretations on what balance of the Force means. A lot of people in chat have been saying that the light side is the balance.
Yeah, like the presence of the dark side or the Sith are the imbalance. To expunge them would be to bring balance.
That's never talked about. It's always talked about light and dark side as being a dichotomy. It's never talked about like light is the natural state of being and then dark is a corruption of that.
Yeah, I don't think that's the intention. At the end of Return of the Jedi, Vader does kill himself and kill the Emperor, and there's not only Luke left. You can assume that there's still dark side people in the universe. There's still, they're not trained Sith. Yeah.
All right, so we've heard both sides speak, so what is going on with the prophecy? Now, this is something I'm working on, so this is a work in progress. Take it for what it is. The way I interpret prophecy, it's not really about the Sith. It's about Sidious in particular, and something specifically he does with Plagueis, which is try to have corporeal immortality. So if we ask the question, what is the prophecy about? It's about preventing corporeal immortality by anyone, whether a Jedi or a Sith. But Sidious and Plagueis in particular want this. The Force responds by creating Anakin, and Anakin gets rid of Sidious and his quest for corporeal immortality. That's how we make the whole prophecy cohesive. Now the question would be, why does the Force care about this issue so much? Why is it so obsessed with corporeal immortality or getting rid of it? That I don't know. I can only say, looking at the films, the one cohesive thread is that corporeal immortality is not going to be allowed for anyone. You can be immortal through ghosts, but you cannot be allowed to be corporeally immortal. That is not allowed by the Force. The Force will always act to block or destroy that. And again, technically speaking, Sidious makes clear from the get-go that is what he wants. The events of Phantom Menace and the events of Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith do make sense in terms of Sidious's plan to achieve immortality. Everything is a proxy for that. Everything is a means to an end for him to achieve immortality. So that part of it makes sense. Now, in terms of Phantom Menace technically doesn't have an issue because prophecy there is very, very vague. So it doesn't really involve the complications that the other parts of the prequels do. But again, if you're going to defend the prequels, you have to defend that partly. But I will say, preview-wise, I do think Revenge of the Sith is a complete mess. The prophecy is a big part of that, but that's neither here nor there. But the Phantom Menace technically is not affected by this, because Lucas is not obligated to give us fully what the prophecy means. And I do think, basically, they've also gotten it wrong in terms of, like, the way the causality is going, but that's a theory I'm working on. I'm going to do that soon, so just be patient. The way I think of it is this, that in Phantom Menace, balance just means a cosmic balance between light and dark, even if the Sith don't exist. And remember, until the very end when Darth Maul appears, the only one who thinks that the Sith do exist is Qui-Gon. It's only at the very end that they finally have some evidence that the Sith are back. So its balance is not getting rid of the Sith, because technically speaking, the Sith don't exist. We, the audience, knows they exist, but the characters don't know they exist. So it's not about getting rid of the Sith, it's about achieving balance by having a quote equality between suppression of passion, which is the Jedi, and passion, and presumably that's the dark side. So it's just having light and dark fully co-equal on both sides. Now, how do we explain Return of the Jedi? I think the way you can get out of it would be this, that what the Sith want is dominance of passion, that's bad, but what the Jedi want is dominance of suppression of passion, that's also bad. What Luke is going to have is a synthesis of both positions of Sith focus on passion and Jedi focus on suppression of passion, and presumably he, as a great Jedi, is fine. If he were a Jedi like Anakin, that would be bad. If he were a Jedi like Qui-Gon Jinn, that would be bad. But he's not. He's moving beyond the old Jedi philosophy. So we can say broadly the Force is trying to destroy the old Jedi philosophy, but also the Sith. But technically, the only thing it has an issue with is corporeal immortality. The fact that these organizations embody these beliefs is incidental. The real goal of the Force is getting rid of corporeal immortality. That's the only way I can see kind of having a very cohesive logic, because once you start getting into, no, it has to be the same number of Sith, the same number of Jedi. First, that's not in the prequels, so that's going to be a big problem. Another is that, well, let's divine George Lucas's intentions. George Lucas changed his mind on these things quite a lot. So trying to just ask George, it's also going to be a big problem, because he keeps changing his mind about what the story is. And now we know he has a sequel trilogy, right? He had it more fully planned than we believed previously. And Leia was the chosen one. So who the chosen one is or what the prophecy is keeps changing depending on creators. So that's going to be a big problem. But I think taking everything into account, all research, all of the intentions, all of what we do know, all of what we see, that's the one cohesive thread. It's preventing corporeal immortality. And as long as Sidious wants that, again, we have implicit enough information to say that he does want that from the first movie, even to the final movie, that his plan does make sense, and the Force is going to try to prevent that. That's basically the best I can do on this very difficult issue. All right, this has been Star Wars Analyzed on the mysteries of the Force and the prophecy.